Hello and welcome to Shady Grove Radio. I'm Dan Loggins. This is Wednesday, November the 11th of 2020, and today is Veterans Day. Veterans Day is observed on November the 11th. Regardless of the day of the week, it's always on November the 11th, and it preserves the historical significance of the date. It was when the Great War ended. World War I, we call it. At that time, they called it the Great War, and they called it the War to End All Wars, which we know that didn't happen. But it's always November the 11th, and at 11 o'clock on November the 11th, all across the country, there are veterans parades and commemorative events for the purpose of celebrating and honoring America's veterans for their patriotism, their love of country, and their willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. And joining me now on the line is Pastor Todd, and Pastor Todd and I have been discussing Veterans Day. Pastor Todd, can you just express some appreciation to our Shady Grove veterans and really all of the veterans of the friends and attenders of the church?
We just, it's incredible to think about all our veterans mean to us, the sacrifice they've made through the years, what they've done to serve our country in so many different ways. And it's just fitting to honor them and what they have done for us. And haven't had a chance to meet a lot of the veterans here at Shady Grove yet, but just know through the years in pastoring, just how much they give, not just through their military service to the country, but have been some of the best churchmen and church leaders and church ladies in the church, and just incredible sacrifice they make, and just so appreciative for their integrity and for who they are.
So tonight we want to honor our veterans, our Shady Grove attenders, our friends and family, our members of Shady Grove who have been a part of the men and women who have served in uniform for the United States. Honoring our veterans goes beyond political party, it goes beyond opinions and preferences, and so on this special edition of Shady Grove Radio, we're going to honor them. I don't have a list of names of Shady Grove friends and family who have served as veterans and who are serving. So I'd like for you to do something, if you would go on the Facebook page and find the post for this radio program and just post the name of your veteran, the name of your friend or your family member who has served. And if you're the veteran, go ahead and post your name on Facebook. Find that Facebook Shady Grove Radio post and just post the name of the veteran on that page. All over North Carolina, businesses are offering free meals, discounts, all kinds of offers and tokens of appreciation. So tonight, just sit back and enjoy this honoring tribute to the men and women who have served in uniform for the United States of America.
Average age of the young Americans serving in uniform today is 20 and a half years of age, making him about 10 months older than his grandfather, who would have served in my war. He's a high school graduate. He's a volunteer. He is brighter, better educated, better trained, led, and equipped than any soldier, sailor, airman, guardsman, or Marine of any country in history. He goes to work wearing an 8-pound Kevlar helmet, a 45-pound flak jacket, and today in Kandahar, it was 110 degrees, and he'll hike up those hills and walk back down them without complaining. He's been taught chemistry and physics and ballistics and avionics and electronics to operate and maintain the most sophisticated weapons and equipment ever designed by the hand and mind of man. He can use his body like a weapon, and his weapon like part of his body. and he can take a life or save one because he has been so remarkably well trained. The images of the young Marines and soldiers and sailors and airmen going to Bible studies and religious services aren't staged. They're all real. They're all spontaneous, and nearly all of them are initiated by those young Americans in harm's way. When they gather in prayer circles and huddle up before a mission, they're not going out to play football. They are going into mortal combat, and they know that some of them are liable not to come back. And they do it because they have faith. Think about getting a teenage boy to clean up his own room, do his own laundry, fix his own meals, clean up everything without a size 10 in the backside. And yet that same youngster today washes and mends his own clothing, feeds himself, takes care of cleaning his weapon, cleaning himself. He's totally self-sufficient. The kid who once wouldn't share a candy bar with his little brother now gives away his last drop of water to a wounded comrade, his only MRE to a hungry Afghan kid, and splits his ammo with a mate in a firefight. This is a frame taken from my footage on the 6th of April, 2003. Baghdad is the smoke pall you see in the background. The Marine unit I'm with embedded is the van, the lead element of the attack on the Eastern Corridor. We're about 15 miles outside of Baghdad, and a Republican Guards regiment ambushes this Marine rifle company. They spin their Humvees around, and there is a gunfight that occurs between this regiment and this rifle company. And in the midst of the beaten zone, the area where the intersecting bullets are crossing, a United States Navy corpsman I had first met in Kandahar in 2001 rushes into the battlefield, right through the fire, drags two wounded Marines out, and carries them on his shoulder to a helicopter that's landed in the roadway. And in this footage right here, I am standing on the ramp of that helicopter. And this corpsman, who's rushed now twice before and brought these two wounded back, now has the third one. And off to the right-hand side, as you look at the screen, a Reuters news crew sets up their tripod, and they're videotaping him going in and out. And as this guy staggers back into the gunfight, one of them shouts out, "Hey, mate, what did you do that for? Didn't you notice?" In other words, you stupid American. Didn't you notice that wasn't a Marine? If you look carefully at that photograph, you'll see that the wounded warrior who's already been bandaged up by that United States Navy medical corpsman isn't a Marine. It's a wounded Iraqi soldier. And this U.S. Navy corpsman has rushed into the battlefield to save his life. And so, in response to the Reuters news crew, he says, "Didn't you notice? He was wounded. That's what we do. We're Americans."
I grew up not far from Shady Grove Wesleyan Church, just north of Summerfield on Highway 158. And there was a hometown boy there by the name of Leon Edwards. Leon enlisted in the Army during the Vietnam era. And before his deployments, he would come by the parsonage to see my dad before he would leave for Southeast Asia. We kids would be ushered out of the room, and Leon and my dad would spend some time together, just the two of them alone, before he would leave to go back to Vietnam. Before each deployment, he would come back, and he had multiple deployments. And my dad would pray with Leon, and then he would leave, and we would all come out and wave goodbye and tell him goodbye. Leon would leave, and then he would head out to Vietnam. At that time, there were many who were avoiding the draft, outright defying the draft, defying the call of service, but Leon was a volunteer. He didn't follow the crowd. Many believed if you went to South Vietnam, you had a death sentence, and they believed that for good reason. Over 50,000 Americans died there, and hundreds of thousands suffer ill effects from that war. That war isn't unique in that thousands of veterans today from all of the wars and conflicts who did not lose their lives are still paying the price, some without arms or legs or sight, some without a moment of emotional peace, and some without homes. Whatever you thought of Vietnam or any other war involving us, you can't deny this. The bravery and dedication of our men and women in uniform deserves our admiration. Our veterans should be honored for their service, and they should be revered, and they should be thanked for their service. One day as a child, my brother and I heard a helicopter over our house, and it was Leon Edwards in an Army helicopter, and he landed it in a field very near our home, and he and the co-pilot went in to his grandmother's home, who lived just 3 or 4 houses down from us, and his grandmother fixed lunch for them. And then Leon's helicopter lifted up into the sky, and Leon was gone again from our view. Nothing like that had ever happened in our small community, or for that matter, many communities across North Carolina and America. But there is something that has happened in every community, every city, every street, that is when this amazing spirit that wells up in a young man or a young woman who says, I'll go, I'll serve my country in uniform. I told you about Leon Edwards coming to visit us, but something I left out. When Leon would visit my father before going back to Vietnam, he always brought a gift. Sometimes it was a pistol, sometimes a medallion or some other artifact of appreciation that he would give to my dad. Dad would pray with Leon, and then he would leave. But in hindsight, I see the greatest gift Leon gave was something that can't be purchased. It was his willingness to serve his country. And that's the service. That's